Okay, so today we are now going to study about the devices, the network devices. Yesterday, we did the basic understanding about the networks, their types, and one more thing we did, that was topologies. Okay, so a very important aspect when you study about topologies and you study about networks is devices, because that really creates the setup because of which the machines are able to communicate. Okay, so these are the devices we'll talk about: modem, Ethernet card, hub, switch, repeater, router, and gateway. Okay, we are supposed to understand them as it is, of course. Plus, in the exam, you'll find that you are given situations, and you have to see that which device fits there the best. That's very important. So we have to understand the practical application of these devices. Okay, let's start. So the first one is my good old modem. Now, modem was more so like an attached device when we used to have the telephone line system, the MTNL system. I had it, so I know, because that time we used to have a proper dial-up connection. Like I would dial to my ISP, who was MTNL, and that my modem would do, and then that dial-up would connect me to the ISP, and then I would communicate. The purpose of modem is basically that it's got two steps: MOD, which is called as the modulation process, and then is the DEM, the demodulation process. Two processes are being done by the modem. The first process is of modulation, that is, my digital data is converted to analog signals, and analog signals are required by my telephone lines for the data to be transferred. So if I have to kind of send the data from A to B, and A is my node, my workstation, my computer, which is connected on the network, and this has to send data to B. So my data from the system is going to be given to the modem. He converts that data into analog signals to be transferred through the telephone lines and received at the receiver's end. At the receiver's end, again, I have a modem. Now he's getting an analog input. He is able to convert it into digital data to be understood by the system then, by the receiver. Fine, that process is my demodulation process. So two processes, modulation and demodulation. So you can say modem is like an intelligent device. It is able to check if its input is analog, he'll convert to digital. If his input is digital, he'll convert it to analog. Okay, that is the basic purpose of my modem. Earlier, we used to have modems, external modems. Then we have started having internal modems. We used to, let's say, like you bought a PC. Okay, earlier, as I told you bought a PC. So there was no modem attached because you were working independently on that system. There was no internet connection to be used, or there was nothing to be done on the network. So individual machine. Then when they said, okay, internet connection chahiye, so you would have a company who would come and install the modem for you. So that modem will connect you to the ISP, and through there he would take your internet information across. Then they started having internal modem, and nowadays my router technically behaves like my modem also. It does both the features. Okay, so we don't have external modems anymore, but the process of modulation, demodulation is happening. It's important. So we have to remember it accordingly. Then this is, if you see the diagram here, the picture here, that's my network interface card. Okay, now if you kind of see this point, this one, this is my, port where I'm attaching my RJ45 cable, my LAN card. This is called as my LAN card, and I am attaching my network cable here, the LAN cable here, RJ45 cable. Okay, so this device is like making my system capable of connecting to the network. If I have a system and I don't have a LAN card, NIC card, then my system cannot be part of any network. Okay. But a point to be noted here is that wired network. So I'm always talking about my LAN here, the wired one. Fine. So it's called my Ethernet card. It's called NIC, network interface card, or also LAN card. Anything I call. Each NIC has address, and that is called as the MAC address. Media Access Control, a full form to be remembered. MAC address, which is my physical address of the computer. One is we talk about the IP address or the network address, and the other one is the MAC address, which is given to me by the network interface card. Okay. And speeds vary. It lets you transfer data in this particular specification, like we say 10 Mbps to around 1 Gbps also. I had shared one message in the group. I said this small b and capital B makes a difference in my unit here. The small b is bits per second. The moment I write it as capital B, it becomes bytes. So megabits per second or megabytes per second. This is something I shouldn't have written it like this. All capitals, it never happens like that. So go by this particular way of writing, small b or capital B. That makes a lot of difference, huh? Because your one bit, multiple bits is making one byte. So if I'm saying bits per second and I'm saying bytes per second, it makes a difference. Okay, that's my interface card, network interface card. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Now, the most, what do you call it? Commonly used connecting device, most commonly used in a LAN is my hub. So, moment you talk about connecting two or more devices in the LAN, I'm talking about hub. Okay, so here what will happen is this is my hub. So I have, understand like this, that I have a machine A and I have a machine B. So both have the network interface card, and from there I'm taking the RJ45 cable and attaching it here. Similarly for here, from B also here. Okay, so one side of the RJ45 is here and the other side is attached to the hub. Okay, na? And yesterday we did the topology. So there you will learn that this is one kind of a topology, the star topology, that the data from the machine from one node goes to the hub, and from there it is transferred to the destination. They don't communicate one-on-one. So A is not communicating with B directly. It is going via the connecting device, which is my hub. Okay. So they are often used in star topology. That's one striking feature. They usually support 8, 12, or 25 ports. Okay. And more than that, if I want, I generally go for a switch, because otherwise what happens, that one of the features of hub is that it is broadcasting the data. It's a very, very important point regarding this hub. That's why we stop using it when we have more number of systems. So hub का सबसे बड़ा issue है that it is not able to filter the data. So if A wants to transfer the data to B, this hub is going to actually release the data with the identification tag on the network. So it is available to everybody. I mean, it goes to everyone. And then the person who is authorized to get it is going to take the data. What happens is like that you are releasing a lot of traffic on the network. So congestion increases. And if the transfer is too much, the number of machines are too much, in that case, it will cause a lot of traffic congestion. Okay, that is why we do not prefer to use hub in the case of more number of machines. The only place we use is my lesser number of machines. The reason being, it broadcasts the data. It is a very, very important question from the exam point of view. Okay. You can say that why is a switch preferred over hub? That is one common question. Then we say, what is the problem with hub? Then in MCQs, they can ask the connecting device, which is which broadcasts the data on the network. So anyway, they will be using this knowledge of yours in order to check. whether you are able to identify the device or not. Is it fine? Shruti, is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Next is we have switch. Okay, now the here the diagram shows you that I've connected two hubs to my switch. It could be directly to the systems also, no problem. Or it can be that few machines are connecting to the hub and then from the hub I'm connecting it to the switch. Okay, but the main thing is that about switch, it is my intelligent hub. So it's a hub. So basic purpose of switch and hub is same. What? Connecting the devices in the network. That remains same. Then what is the difference? The difference is that this fellow doesn't broadcast. Switch doesn't broadcast. Okay. So it's like very simple to understand. I go to a class and I just speak out saying, I reach 12th day and I say, Suti, please meet me after the class. Okay, now the message is only meant for Suti, but I go and announce it in the class and then everybody is able to hear, everybody gets disturbed, everybody is bothered. Okay, but it is not meant for everyone. Right, that is broadcasting kind of. But in the case of switch, what I would do is I would enter the class, reach your desk, and kind of tell you personally that please meet me after the class. So nobody else is able to hear. There's no extra traffic. बाकी लोग अपना काम कर रहे हैं. No problem, no issues. Okay, that way. So switch is an intelligent hub. He is intelligent enough to take the data to the destined user, intended node as we call it. जिसके लिए है, it'll directly go to that particular person. That is the advantage of my switch. This is like, I can show it to you when you come to the lab next time. On the corner area, no, we have a huge black glass box, plastic and glass box. And inside that, we have the switches. And you can see that all the wires from the machines from the lab is coming and getting attached to it. These are the ports and they are numbered. So accordingly, वो wire पे भी number होता है and then they are able to check out. यहाँ पे one लगाया, उधर भी one लगाया. Like that is how they identify. तो इतनी सारी wires आ जाती. It's very difficult to remember which wire is for which machine. If you want to check or remove, like मुझे एक machine को हटाना है line से. ठीक है? So I should know ना which wire to remove. That is why nowadays numbering is being done on the wires also. And accordingly, we are able to detect that. Then comes another device which is called as repeater. As the name suggests, you repeats. So if like we three are standing in a line, I tell something to you all three, but I'm not able to, I'm not audible to the last person. So there's the second last fellow who will kind of repeat what I said. Okay, so when a signal is traveling a longer distance, it gets weaker. That is why सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है, समझ नहीं आ रहा what is coming to me. So repeater's purpose is to repeat, amplify the signal. I call it repeat because it is in the digital system and digital system mein, it is 101, 10001, you know, those bit patterns basically, that is being repeated. It's not amplification at times. We don't use the term amplifier. Instead, we would call it a repeater because he is going to repeat the data over a longer distance. Acha. Isme, the thing to be remembered is that a situation where you will attach a repeater will be around 70 meters above. Okay. And it cannot be endless. You say, मुझे यहाँ से Bangalore data भेजना है. So I have a line and I'm talking about putting repeaters in between. So मेरा signal पहुंच जाएगा. It's not like that. It's first of all working in a LAN environment. And LAN is as such a limited geographical area. We've studied that last class. So there I'm talking about a repeater. So after, because LAN works around 1 kilometer also, we say. So within that, around after 70 meters, we should put a repeater. 70 to 100. Now that varies. Some books say 70, some books say 100. So you will say 70 above जहाँ पे होगा, उस setup में you should place a repeater. Okay. That is the purpose of this particular device. Now comes the most commonly used device, which is actually taking over multiple roles nowadays. That is my router. We see a router at our homes all the time nowadays because we are using it for internet connection. As simple as that. Connecting to different network. Connecting to my ISP and then taking it to my different network. Okay. So router is basically connecting multiple networks and it forwards the packets, not data packet. This is a concept which we have to understand, that the data travels in the form of packets. To understand it, I would give you one example. You all have given CBSE exams. Okay. Now, CBSE exams ke baad, those papers are collected, subject wise, class wise, whatever, they are collected in the examination room. And now these are like around, maybe in a center, there are about 500 candidates. So 500 papers are there with different subjects or with different things. 500 bachas ka paper hai in that center. Now, will all those 500 papers go like in one bunch and go to CBSE? It doesn't work like that. Okay. We always create bunches of 50 papers or 100 papers, bunches of that, and then club. Like when it comes to checking also for us, to us, we always receive bags. एक bag में 2 bundles of papers होता है of 100 each. So 200 papers at the maximum in one bag. We will not have more than that. Okay. So bag पे there's a tag, key, with subject, how many papers, and then there's a bag number, a tagging is done. जब आप बैग खोलोगे उसके अंदर जो 100 papers का bundle है, there again there is a tagging being done, which paper, which set of papers and all that. So all these kind of things are being done when you do the packaging basically of your data. Similarly, when you are sending an email or writing something and sending, or you're downloading something, uploading something, whatever, it's the data traveling on the network. And for that, I talk about router taking care of it. And router is basically, taking those packets of information, data packets. We always call it that data transfer in the form of data packets. Okay. So within the network, my network also, I am using a router. 2 LANs को connect करने के लिए I am using a router nowadays, or to some other networks also. Like one example of school I can give you. In my basement there I have a LAN. In my first floor I have a LAN. In my second floor, third floor, fourth floor I have different LAN setups. And हर एक floor के लिए I have a router also. And then they are connected. Okay. There are wired routers, there are wireless routers. Wired routers, Ethernet cables. Ethernet, whenever you talk about, I'm talking about a LAN. Ethernet cable is that using of that Ethernet card, NIC use करके तो network LAN की बात हो रही है यहाँ पे, to connect your computers to the router. On the other hand, in the case of wireless router, it needs the wireless network card with access points in order to have the access. Okay, so these are 2 ways I can do. They can be wired routers also, or wireless router also. This is how they look like. This is the first one here is my wireless router, and this is my wired router. You देखो यहाँ पे wires आ रही हैं, अलग-अलग LAN से आ रहा होगा, अलग-अलग setup से आ रहा है. Okay, I just wanted to talk about it regarding this particular fact, so I added this, which is faster, the wired or the wireless one. Fine. As such, we say that there's not a very big difference. It also depends upon your setup and how many computers you're connecting. There are a lot of other factors. It is not only कि wired अच्छा है या wireless अच्छा है, कौन सा use करना चाहिए. Fine. So we say Ethernet can boost your internet speed when using your wired routers. Internet speeds will depend upon how many computers are connected to a single router. Obviously, जितना data उसको भेजना है, if that is too much for him or its capacity is more, in that case, it will be slower until unless its capacity is more. है ना? और अगर कम डेटा होगा तो वो जल्दी जाएगा. As simple as that. So wired routers can also use more bandwidth compared to wireless router. It depends upon your setup at times. But somewhere I cannot use a wired network. Possible नहीं है तार लाना वहां से. So I'll have to go for a wireless router. Okay. Now this is a question which is being asked in the paper in various forms. They'll give you a situation and ask you what to attach, router or a modem or a repeater or a hub or a switch. Okay, so hub, switch, repeater का तो एक specific role होता है, so we know about it. Okay, router और modem का क्या चक्कर है that we are not able to, because nowadays the roles are intermingling. Modem का काम भी कर लेता है router. ठीक है ना? So what we call it that inbuilt है, हमें दिखता भी नहीं है modem. So router तो फिर भी दिखता है. Routers are not generally inbuilt. So router creates a network between the computers in your home, while the modem connects that network and thus the computers on it to the internet. So last point में जाके my modem is converting the data. Modulation and demodulation the काम he is doing, and then he is releasing the data. Okay. Fine. When you connect Wi-Fi, you are really connecting to your router, which forwards the traffic between the internet and your computer. The thing which we do at home, we really don't have any external modem showing up. Directly router is taking care of it. Wi-Fi routers are taking care of it in the network. Okay. Like here, I've given a diagram here. Your modem is a box that connects your home network to the wider network, because he is taking the data out. And router is the box that lets all your devices, wired or wireless devices, at your home or at your school, lab के अंदर जो भी है वो connect कर रहा है उसको, and फिर ultimately modem data को बाहर network पे लेके जाए. ठीक है? That is how it goes. I don't know why I'm doing this again. That is what my modem and routers are meant for. And the last one, gateway. So gateway works like connecting two dissimilar networks. Okay. Now, to understand that, we can say that one country, like I have one gateway, India ka ek gateway, the BSNL. So everything is routed to BSNL, and ultimately BSNL is taking my data out of my network, and then it is taking it out to the world where I don't know what kind of a setup is there. What topology, what kind of wires, what kind of modem router, what is the specification of that network? I don't know. Okay, so there it is my gateway coming into play. It is a network device that connects to dissimilar networks, completely to dissimilar networks, and it establishes an intelligent connection between the local and the external network with completely different structures. That is something very important. Okay, they might give a MCQ saying that dash is the device connecting to different networks, or we say two similar networks, rather similar networks if we are saying. So my router can do that. Okay, but when it is two dissimilar network completely, then my gateway comes into play. Now in my gateway, I can talk about that is it a hardware or a software? These kind of questions do come in. Is it a hardware or is it a software? It's actually a combination of both. Okay, at times organization ने अपना एक gateway बना रखा है, take the data out, and at that point I am talking about putting firewall. Now what will that firewall do? That firewall is going to filter. I can put restrictions that what comes in, what websites I want my organization to use. So I can put my restrictions on that firewall. I can put one central place where I can put my antivirus. Whatever data comes in, it's being checked here. Rather than, if you see a setup here like this on the slide here, सारे PCs पे अलग-अलग antivirus ना लगा के, you put it at the gateway only. So whatever is coming in is being filtered, is being checked, is being cross-checked. है ना? जैसे हम एक सर्वर के थ्रू जब डेटा को लाते हैं या भेजते हैं, I can check it up there itself. So similarly, I can talk about this as a device where I can install my firewall also. Check okay, फिर जाएगा. या वहीं पे I'm stopping it. Okay. Like you're connecting your servers, your workstations, everything. Now these terms, server, workstations, client, these are the terms, nodes, which I've discussed in the previous class. You can see that previous video for that, because these terms are very, very important. Generally, in a network, I never called a computer as such. I will always call it as a node. That node can be a PC also, a laptop also, a desktop also, whatever. But it is a node when it is connecting on the network or a workstation. So workstation is like a PC with networking capability. That is what we call as a workstation. So all my lab computers are workstations. They're individually working and have the capacity to link to the network. And when they get linked to the network, then they become nodes. So जब अब वो network पे है, at that time they are behaving as nodes. Okay. So these are the devices which you should understand and be able to implement also. Anything you want to ask? You can. Otherwise, I will send. Okay. Were you able to see the previous 2 recordings? Please do that. Okay. Because this, okay, you saw one. Any doubt in that? Anything you want to ask, you can. Okay, fine. And I have shared the worksheets also. Hard copies you want, you can come and take it from me. I'll put the soft copies in the GCR. Okay. And then you see whether you're able to solve out those questions or not, as per the solution which I'm sending. ठीक है? And Sukhmani, एक चीज याद रखना बेटा, next week we have that assembly time with us. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll go for it. Okay? Yeah. So SQL practice करना हमको अच्छा important. ठीक है? चलो तब. Okay, bye bye. Take care.